people asking me how I create my hybrid layouts, so I thought I'd do a quick video showing you how I use digital products to create hybrid layouts. So if you like to stick with me, it's about 12 minutes long, and I'll show you how I create a hybrid layout with digital products. And I'm using JB Studio Designs, and I'm using Baking Season Gingerbread, I think it's called, but you'll see if you follow on with the rest of this video. Okay, thank you, and I'll see you later. Okay, so in Silhouette Studio, I navigate to the folder where I've got the designs I want to use. So let's use gingerbread here. And first thing I would do, say I wanted pattern paper, I might choose that one and size it to 12 by 12. Send that, and literally just send that to print on my printer. I've got a wide format printer here, so I can print out, it's actually 11 3/4 wide, so I always trim my paper down to 11 3/4 by 11 3/4. So that's really simple. Okay, so to create the embellishments, I would take, say, the butter here and bring it into Silhouette Studio. And I don't know if you can see, it's got a red line around it, and it means that it will cut out round that red line. So then I literally just size that down to the size I want it, which will look quite small on here. And these I print out on A4. So I put the print and cut marks on, and then I can literally just print that out, send it to cut. And you can see here, the red line's gone really dark, which shows that's where it will cut it. And that gives me my embellishments. Now what you might find, or what I find sometimes, is an embellishment that's a bit got more to it. Perhaps the leaves are always one. Right, this leaf here. Okay, let's size that down a minute to say about 7 inches tall, just so I can show you what I mean. Right, if I was to try, that's still a bit big, can't just see that, let's take it down to 5. If I was to try and do print and cut on that, it's just too fiddly. There's two, if I show you and I send that, it would be too, by the time I size that down, it would just be too frayed, it would just fall to pieces. So what I do with this is do an offset to it. So there I've done an offset. I'll come back out again and just redo that. So just click on offset. And then, as you see, it does that round like that. Now it'll also cut out that little bit there. So what I sometimes do then is release compound path and then delete those tiny little bits. Oh, the thing to do is to then just go in, click and delete all the little bits that you see, so that when you send it to print, it's not going to cut out that little bit there and that little bit there and these tiny little red bits here. So I'd go in and I'd delete all of those. So I'll just do that and then I'll come back. So once you've deleted all of those, I wouldn't want to just send that then, because it will still cut out the outside edge, the offset, but it'll also cut out the inside bit, which we don't want to do. So I need to choose the leaf in the middle and change the colour of its edge. I'll just choose green. It won't print that green when you send it to print, but then you then need to group the two together. And then when you send that, we go to line and we tell it just to cut the red. And as you see there, when it cuts that out, it will just be cutting that with an offset, so it's not so delicate. So that's how I do the more delicate items. So sometimes I might make up a page of embellishments like this from the embellishment pack, make up stickers. So I'll send these to print and then cut. This is from Silhouette Studio. And then other times what I'd actually do is create my layout as if it were a digital layout almost, in Silhouette Studio to see what embellishments I need and what size I need, and then I'll print and cut. So I'll show you how I do that. Some elements like the these torn edge papers are a bit too big for Silhouette Studio to deal with properly. So if I want to use those, I tend to do it in Canva, but I'm just going to be showing you how I work in Silhouette Studio. So I won't choose one of these. We'll just go into the, where are the papers? There we go, pattern papers. And I'll choose one of these papers to use for my background paper. I think I will go with this one. Okay, so I haven't chosen that. Size it down. Okay, so I changed my mind and decided to go with this one instead, but I'm not going to get rid of that piece of paper because I might use that in my design. Excuse me, I've got a bit of a cold. So the next thing I want to do is bring in my photographs, this photo here. So I bring that in, comes in absolutely huge, so we'll size that down, bring it into the centre. Let's put it on a different page, but we won't worry about that for the moment. So let's take that down to a 3x4, and then I can cut that and bring it into my layout. Whoops. Paste it on. So now basically what I do is I design my layout here. I can go over to where I've got the embellishments that I've chosen, and I can copy, oops, let's close that one down, and then paste it in so I can see if it's the right size. So that, yeah, that would probably be okay. Obviously you can't see that, so I'm going to need to put something behind that, so I'll have a fiddle with that in a minute. If I go back to the embellishments again, I might want this journal card, so I copy that, paste that in. Might want the journal card down here, and I do that, and then that way I can decide if I've got my embellishments the right size or not. So like this frame, now if I were to use that frame at that size, I've not got it the right size, so I can then size it to make sure it's going to take my photo, and then I'd copy that into another document to do print and cut. So I'll come back when I've done this layout to show you what it looks like and what my next step is. Before I show you how I've put it all together, what I wanted to show you, if I don't want a whole sheet of paper in my layout, what I do is I create a rectangle and size it to height 12, and then say I want a 4-inch strip, so we'll do 4 inch there, and then put that over piece of paper, select all of them, just make sure it's aligned top and bottom, and then crop it. So then I've just got one strip of paper, so I can then import that into my layout that I'm designing to see what it's going to look like. So we're going to want a strip going down the centre there. I can then send that backwards. Photos obviously behind there as well, to see how it looks, and that way when I come to print everything out, I'm not printing out a whole sheet of paper, because I can incorporate this on a page with perhaps other strips of paper that I want to also use in my layout. So here you can see I've created my layout in Silhouette Studio. Obviously bits are overlapping because I'll cut them off, and then what I've done is I've taken the bits of papers that I want to print, and so they're on an A3 sheet ready to print out. Doesn't matter that they fall off the end there because I don't need full circles. That's the background paper I want to print. That's my first sheet of embellishments that I need to print and cut. And I've also got this sheet of embellishments to print and cut, because for the title I want to print this out and cut it 4 times in total, and then pile them up one on top of each other to give some dimension. So I'll go ahead and do the print and cut. So there we are on the send panel. There's my sheet ready to go in, so I just have to press the send button. I also have to shine a light on to make sure it works properly, because it's underneath the shelf here. And then it will cut out what I need here. I'll let that do its thing, and then I'll show you when they've all been cut out. Okay, so this is my sheet of printables. That's my background sheet of paper and the paper with different strips put on. So what I will do now is print and cut these on my Silhouette machine. Okay, so I've removed the outer bit of paper, and that's all my stickers left on the transfer sheet there. So I now need to just take those off, ready to do scrapbooking with. Okay, so you can see here now I've got lots of paper stickers, in quotes, because they're not stickers, they're just paper, but you use them as stickers, ready to create the layout. And all I have to do now is just treat them like ordinary scrapbook papers to create the layout. This just needs a bit more tidying up. It didn't come off quite cleanly, and the centre bits haven't cut tremendously well. This is a case where I might have gone in and taken out the bits so it doesn't actually cut the holes, but I've done it, so we'll run with that. And there's the last bit of that. So I need to cut the other page out with the other 3 so I can stack them up. And then I'll come back at the very end once I've glued everything down. So here's my finished layout. Excuse the table mat. If I zoom in here a bit, focus. Right, you can see I've done some, these are glitter drops around the edge. I've added metallic gingerbread men. This paper on the circles, I've roughed the edges up. The paper strips here, I've used a paper punch to punch the edges. I've added some wood veneer here. And if you look at the title there, where, oh, come on, is it going to focus? I've done the 4 layers together to make it a thicker title there. I've bumped the frame up on foam to give that some depth, and some of the embellishments have also been put up on foam. The flower on there has gone up on foam, as has that little heart there and the butter cube there. So that is how I create a hybrid layout. Other people may do it differently. Other people may use the silhouette very differently from how I use it. This is how I've taught myself, basically. Other people do it differently. I may, do it differently depending on how I'm feeling. Sometimes I just print out all the embellishments from a collection and then just play with them. But I quite like the fact that you can create roughly what you want on the screen and then just print out what you need, so there's absolutely no waste. So that's my layout. I need to just do my journaling, write it in here, but these dots are still too wet, and if I try and write on there now, it's all going to smudge. So that's how I create a digital layout from start to finish. Do it slightly differently with the product actually has silhouette cut and print and cut files in it, but with a digital collection, it is really quite easy to create a hybrid layout. If you've got a cutting machine. If you haven't got a cutting machine, you can still do something similar by printing them out and doing fussy cutting around them. So it's always worth having a go, especially if collections are on offer. Download a collection, have a play and see how you get on. The thing I like most about it is the fact that you do save money because you're only printing out what you're using. You don't end up with loads of stuff in your craft room sitting around not being. So thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you don't subscribe, I'd appreciate a subscribe. And if you've got any more questions, please put them down below and I'll get back to you. Thank you. Merry Christmas, and I'll see you again soon.